Hello everyone, welcome back to Naomi's Bookshelf. Today we're going to do my review of Ruth by Elizabeth Gaskell. So in Ruth, we meet a young woman named Ruth, and she is about 15 years old at the beginning of this book, I believe, maybe a little bit younger, probably about 14, and she is working in a factory as an apprentice. I think that's where she's generally working, but she's an apprentice for a dressmaker. And when she's there, she meets a young man who then kind of seduces her and they become a couple. And during that time, she runs away with him. And during that time, she is being seduced. She loses her job and therefore she runs away with him. And after that point is where the book really kind of takes off. I don't want to say too much more that's into spoilery terms. However, this book does take a look at more of the fallen woman trope, I would want to call that, in Victorian literature, and it follows Ruth's journey after that point. So if you are interested in a bit more of that aspect, you can totally check it out. I have not found any resources online talking about Ruth, so it's really a very open-ended thing where you would know nothing else going in unless you wanted to read reviews on Goodreads or Storygraph if you wanted to. But I will be going into a spoilery section right after this spoiler-free section if you would like to know more spoilers. A few more things that you can know about this book that are spoiler-free is that this book does talk a lot about how the people reacted to women who were fallen, or women who had fallen for men or who were considered the seductress. This book also talks a lot about the morality of these things and how a past can really haunt someone. But that's kind of what this book really goes into. Aside from that, there's really isn't much more I could really talk about. This is a book that is very heavy and depressing at points. It does handle a lot more of this commentary on society like Gaskell likes to include in her novels that I have found. And I would recommend reading it if you are interested in this kind of topic. However, if you are not interested in finishing Gaskell's novels, I did find it to be the least liked of her novels for me so far. So if you are not all that interested, maybe you might not want to pick it up. However, I mean, it wasn't a bad book for me. It was just a very difficult one for me to start getting interested in. So now we're going to get into some spoiler stuff. I honestly will talk about what the spoilers I can remember are. This one had a lot of things that I just didn't care about at the first half. This book had some things that I really, a lot of characters I didn't care about. I found this one to be very apathetic for me, and that's very annoying. I gave this book a solid 3-star in the middle of the road. The first half was very mediocre and I did not care. I felt like Ruth's journey at the very beginning where she was meeting, I think his name, Bellingham? I think that's his name. I don't remember anymore, to be honest. I'm going to call him Bellingham. Sorry. I'm filming this a little bit later than I probably should have because I don't remember his name. But he was someone who got away with it, and it did show that kind of unfair bias where the man got away with, seducing women, and then the woman had to suffer all the consequences. And I did like the fact that we got to see her as a single parent in society after the fact that, he had been taken away by his mother to be relieved of this evil woman. And then she was still pregnant at the age of 15. So she was obviously a very young mother. And then when she was dealing with all of this difficulty at such a young age, she was able to still be a mother, still get a job, still have all this pressure of society on her back. But at the same time, when she did that, she was able to really find her own way in this town. Although I did find it interesting how the past never really let her go. And then once her past really came out into the open, she never really ran away from it. The past was acknowledged and they just kept going. Her son, I think his name was Leonard, if I'm remembering right. I'm going to go with the names I'm remembering, and I'm so sorry if I'm wrong. But Leonard had to really face up to what his mother had done and what the stigma would be on his life forever. So I felt like that was something that it showed in society. Another thing that was very interesting to me about this book was how Ruth was able to really commit herself to being, I don't know, redeemed, and how they talked about this redeeming aspect where, you know, she would live her life better, and how they had this act of, you know, you have to work to redeem yourself, and it wasn't just you know, you had a simple mistake when you were younger. You were 14 when you were seduced by a man. So not only is he the one at fault, but you should not be considered guilty. But yet she was always considered guilty and evil and always the one who was in the wrong. And then she was always the one who had to repent, or then later was considered the black pariah, essentially, of society. But then at the end of the book, I really loved how the second half was of this book, how that really picked up once she met her future, or not her future, but her former partner, Bellingham, again. And he came back into the picture, and she really had to, you know, hide her past, but also she had to try and protect her son from that, because then he found out about Leonard. And then also I liked how she, once it came out, she decided not to shy away from it. She, you know, was still herself. She never pretended that she was different. She never ran away, even though she was tempted. And she was still, you know, her humble, true self. And I feel like a lot of things about this were like Grace was twisted, and, you know, having a redeeming love of the Savior was twisted. All of these things about faith and religion were so wrong. And then I really loved, though, how the family who took her in, they didn't care about her past. They just cared about her and wanting to take care of her. So I thought that was a really wonderful aspect of this. But then also at the end, when everyone was sick, and it really came out that her wonderful nature and her quality of care for no matter who it was, the poor, the rich, she didn't care. She just wanted to take care of everyone. That was really important to her. I felt like that was really a great character quality of her. So I was really happy with that as a part of her character that was developed throughout the second half of the book, and even probably the first half. But I felt like the first half, she was just so kind of stagnant, and I felt like she just was sitting and doing nothing. But the second half of the book, she seemed to be a lot more of a proactive character, and I felt like that was a lot more of where I was invested in her growth and her storyline. Also, the family that she was a governess to, Jemima was the oldest daughter's name. I found that storyline to be very interesting, when she was constantly being attractive to other men. Ruth was attractive to other men, and they were all trying to get her attention, but she had decided to never marry. So I felt like that was interesting, or she will obviously would have to share the fact that her husband hadn't passed. Well, maybe she wouldn't have to, but she wouldn't want to lie about that. But then Jemima had this discovery, and then that's when the discovery went around town. I did think that that was interesting, how her former role of a teacher and of a governess really helped her maybe with creating strength of character. But at the same time, I found that family to be interesting, but also I didn't care about that family until halfway point, when that family introduced her once again to Bellingham. So, or Bellamy? Anyways, so I didn't, like I said, care that much until the halfway point. And I also found that the ending was very poetic. So I felt like Ruth obviously dying is something you don't want at the end, but I did feel like it was very justifiable. It was poetically correct for the book. And I felt like it was great that Leonard didn't end up going with his father. And they were like, no, we're going to keep him. We're going to raise him. We're going to do what's best for him, the people who've actually cared about him his entire life, and the ones who have been here by his side, and not you, who haven't cared about him at all since you found out about his being alive. So I thought that was well done, and very appropriate. I really enjoyed that. So I did not want her to die, but at the same time, I felt like it was good a good ending. And then obviously her taking care of Bellamy, I think that was his name anyways. Her taking care of him at the very end of the book when he was very sick and when she was not in her peak strength also was very interesting to read about, and how that was very in character for her. So yeah, a lot of things that were interesting, but a lot of things I'm talking about were the end of the book, the second half. And I feel like the second half was so important for this book, but at the same time, if I hadn't gotten through the first half, I would never have gotten there. And the first half was not worth a 5-star. So that's why I gave it a 3-star for the whole book, for the whole novel. And it's just unfortunate that the first half just is so forgettable to me. I mean, I know what happens, but it just felt like nothing was happening. It was very stagnant. The plot didn't move. The characters were not growing in my esteem. I was not interested in any of them. And it just felt blah. And that's kind of a mediocre, very boring way to say it, but it's kind of true. So unfortunately, those are my feelings on the first half, but the second half was really good. I really did enjoy the second half, and I felt like it did a great job of wrapping up the book and making me actually care about what happened. It had a lot more of a plot, and it had a lot more of character growth, and I was really invested from that point on. So I know this is a very short episode of Timeless Tomes, but I don't really have much more to say. I don't really have anything else to say, actually. However, I do want your help. I feel like for December, I really want to read a Dickens, and I don't know which one. So I've narrowed it down to 2 options, and I want your help. Please tell me in the comments which one I should read. I have David Copperfield, and I have Great Expectations. I have never read either one of these, and I would love to know which one you think I should read. I know this one is a lot bigger, and I know this one's a lot shorter, but I have both of them on audio. And I would love to read one of them for December. I haven't decided which one, and I would like to start reading another Dickens, essentially. So please tell me, which one should I read next? Great Expectations or David Copperfield? And I will start that up as my next Timeless Tome. So please vote down below in the comments. I would love to hear which one you think I should read. So that will be my next Timeless Tome episode, if you can help me out with this one. So that will be it for this episode of Timeless Tomes. Please like and subscribe if you have enjoyed this video. And also please leave a comment about Ruth or about Elizabeth Gaskell, and also leaving your vote for which of these 2 I should read for next month's episode. I do really want to read a Dickens for December, and like I said, do not know which one I want to read. So please leave a comment about that or about Gaskell, Ruth, whatever, and I will see you next time. Bye for now.